Welcome to Classic Car Diaries, and today we've got something really special for you. In the 1950s, the British sports car was at its peak. And over here, we've got two of the heaviest hitters that era came out with, the Big Healeys. So we're going to start with the mighty Healey 3000, the only one of its kind in the country. And we have its owner here, Shiraz Ali. So Shiraz, let's start today with the history of this car. What do you know about how this car came to the country and everything since then?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough, the former owner we bought it from, Mr. Nigel Austin, was actually there when the car was uncrated. It was brought in by Roland's company, who were the agents for Austin Healey at the time. So he was actually there when he remembers it being unboxed. So from that point, it was actually bought by Count Ferranti, who was a friend of J.R. Jayawardana's. And then from him, the car passed on to Rajan Sellamuthu and then on to Mr. Nigel Austin. And we bought it off him in 2020, just after it had done its first ever restoration.
Lovely. And you know, what made you choose this car? Why were you all lusting after this particular British sports car?
So this is one of the most desirable cars, I would say, because there's a few unique factors. Again, like we were chatting about earlier, there is a 3-litre engine in a car of this size was not common. And especially a 6-cylinder 3-litre engine was not the format that British sports cars went for. They usually went for smaller size, smaller engines.
From that, going into the driving experience of this car, the top end must be quite good for a British sports car. Usually they're around a grunt.
Yeah, this has enough, more than enough grunt. When you flow it, it's one of the few older sports cars. Maybe not as nimble as you'd like, but it does have the muscle to back it up.
Like we were chatting about, basically British sports cars were becoming really popular in the US at the time, and like having the extra 2 cylinders, even just mentally, it would have been quite a good selling point for the American market who love their V8.
Yeah, of course. And you can tell even when you're driving it that it is a V6 under the hood, you know, whereas a lot of the other British sports cars, you end up pedal to the floor, whereas here you can even so there are times you need to half pedal it as well.
I mean, the interior of the car and such is quite original on this car.
The only time that we know it's been restored was actually just prior to us purchasing the car. So it went through a renovation in 2019, but most of the body and everything was in great condition. The interior body was in great condition. It was just, small signs of wear that were coming back.
I think the other thing that's special about this car is the rear jumper seats. Very unusual for a British classic car to be able to even shoehorn those in. So I think this car also has a really cool pop culture reference. Do you want to...
Yeah, so fans of travel and food would know who Anthony Bourdain is. So actually the former owner took Anthony Bourdain around in this car as well when he was visiting Sri Lanka.
But for the time being, I'll settle for Jagdesh's 1967 Austin Healey Roadster. We're heading out into the night, looking for the Sri Lankan late-night post-nightclub favorite, Katu Roti.
And I think the former owner was the president of the Dutch Burger Union, so I think they had gone through there as well. And
I think Anthony Bourdain found the right man for the job when he came
Definitely.
to Sri Lanka. Yeah. All right, so in terms of someone looking to get into classic motoring in Sri Lanka, what sort of advice would you get? What was your driving force, and what you feel would be a great way? Would be some tips for?
Yeah, I think for me and for you as well, you relate to this. It was partly inherited. I think we were born breathing classics, if you like that. But for most of the new classic car enthusiasts, I would say the best feeling you get is actually doing things yourself. So once you find something that is not in a great condition and you yourself know exactly each nut and bolt, what goes in, how do you do it, what would you like to do, and there is now a bit of freedom in that everything is not restored 100% to originality. You are given a bit of freedom to express yourself within the car.
No, and I think you've hit a really valuable point there, because I think that especially with labor and sort of skills around this field quickly dying out, it's more important than ever for people to take a hands-on approach with these things.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fantastic.
Going on that, if you look anywhere else in the world, a lot of the time it is a personal project that people take on. So I think here there are skills to learn, but nowadays, back when we were starting, we didn't have the information available, the videos, the data, like people telling you how to do anything you want to do in a car. It's probably online and you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube alone is such a fantastic resource, and even forums.
Exactly. And then like people can help you find parts online. It's a super community that's there.
Yeah. British sports cars, Austin Healey, where's your usual source? Like, where do you...
So we were lucky enough that this car came almost perfect, so we don't need to find anything for it. But a lot of the other cars, talking to other owners of similar marques, because a lot of the British cars actually had common parts, like the lights, the dials were all kind of the same companies that made it. So there is a network of parts dealers. So if you just chat to anyone, is usually helpful enough. Any of the classic car collectors will tell you who to contact. There is usually a guy in England.
There's always a guy.
There is a guy. Yeah. Everyone has a guy.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Shiraz.
No, thanks.
And let's move on to the Healey 100. So moving on to the nimble Healey 100 and its owner, Sidath. So Sidath, would you like to tell us about the history of this car, how it came to this country and where it went before you got it?
Well, I believe it came brand new to Sri Lanka, probably been imported by Britishers who used to look after our plantation. Yeah, after that it changed hands so many times, and most of the people who were at that time racing used to was very keen on having the Healey, because this is one of the fastest sports cars we had in the country in 50s and 60s. So, and this car was very famous on the Katu track and so many events. And also hill climb in Magastota, yes. So those are the few things.
And would you say so during the plantation era, I probably would have spent some time in the hill country?
Yeah, definitely. There was a gentleman called M.S.M. Mohideen. He used to race quite a lot. I mean, if you go back to the archives of the history and newspapers and etc., the Mohideen name with this car is there.
Synonymous.
Synonymous.
Okay, okay, that's fabulous. So when you found the car, can you tell us about how you found it?
My friend Rajitha Gomas had a Healey, which was BN1. I used to go with him in my young days. Both of us used to drive to Nuwara and back so many times, and I got fond of that Healey. One day he called me and said there's a Healey which has met with the accident and the owner has left it, the walkers, and walkers are closing down.
What year was this?
I think in 1980s, early 80s or late 70s.
Wow.
Walkers are shutting down their workshop. So Rajitha went for something, and we saw in the corner this car. So when we made inquiries, it was for sale and I bought it from there. Fortunately, these cars will start appreciating quite a lot, and the support service and the supply chain was fantastic to restore the car. So I was fortunate to get all the original pieces what was missing in the car, as well from the accident damage and everything. This fender was aluminium and it was damaged, and I managed to get a new one, and I completely restored this car in 1980s, early 80s. So it's about, restoration is about close to easily about 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, or more.
So, I mean, in the 1980s, a restoration wouldn't have been 3 clicks on eBay like it is today. It would have been quite a process.
When I was 17 years old, before I got in driving license, my father bought me a TR4 A. And at that time, I was living in England. It was a left-hand drive car, and I always wanted to convert it into right. So I used to go to the various places looking for parts. So I figured it out, the vendors who are there for various cars, and I used to subscribe those days the classic car, and there was a magazine called Exchange and Mart at that time. So that has everything for sale and who supply thing, especially carburetors for the old cars and like that. It was a fantastic magazine. That is how I got it. And we have sent telexes. First it was telex.
Telex,
yeah.
okay.
Message and fax, and call some friends and say, look, get a manual. In the 80s, I used to travel to London almost every year. So I managed to build up my relationship with people. Still, I'm dealing with him.
That's really, wow.
Yeah. I have another Healey as well, which I'm restoring.
Okay.
EN198, that also has been raced
Wow.
Quite a lot in Sri Lanka. So most of the Healeys had a demand at that time because of the racing history and because lightweight and super handling.
Yeah.
Compare with the Tira cars. And this was fastest, like compare with the MGs.
MGs and all.
Yeah.
You prefer the handling of this car to a Healey 3000, for example. How does it compare?
So basically, this was a dream of Donald Healey's, who invented the car, and he raced.
Yeah.
So this is a racing thing. 3000 came for the American market.
Yes. We touched on that in that
Yeah,
episode.
the heavy engine, the Americans want that, and more than the power, big block engine, and to compete with the rest of the other cars. Saying that the 3000, the BJ8, never had a racing history. It was only up to the BN2 and the BJ4.
That's really interesting. So you've already given us a really fantastic insight into restoration in the 1980s.
Yes.
If someone was picking up one of these cars today, what advice would you have for them?
It's so easy because you click of a button, you can see the picture, parts are available, you put the model, what is there, and you just give a credit card ordered and the FedEx will bring you to your doorstep in Kure. But the time that we restored, it was not like that. Sometimes we buy the parts and keep a month and wait till somebody comes to hand carry and bring it. No proper courier service or something. Either it had to be parcel post or sea freight or thing. You know, you can't get air freight at that time like small parcels.
Yeah.
It has to be parcel post. We went through past that era in our life, and that was very challenging for us. Now it's nothing. You know, if you have the money, you can do anything you want.
I think that's a really good lesson for all of us young enthusiasts who complain about our restorations and moan about how we can't find parts.
Yeah.
The challenges that people went through in the 1980s, and that was some real passion shown to keep these cars alive when they weren't worth as much as they are today also. Okay, so thank you so much for being with us, and your insights are valuable as always.
Yeah.